Hi guys, it's me, Moon Mama. Just wanted to pop on. I think I'm putting this up on YouTube. So hi anyone catching this on YouTube. I hope everybody's having a okay January 11th. I know so many of us struggle with this, so that's kind of why I want to do this video. I wanted to do this video so many times, but not sure myself even how to overcome this sometimes. So I want to talk about when we fall short or we start slacking or we do not have the desire, the initiative. We just kind of have a lackluster thing going on for our craft and our witching things, our witchy rituals, our spells, our beautiful crystals, our oracle cards, all of these things that we have loved over the years so much. And then they end up just kind of sitting there. And of course, when I'm talking about things, crystals and what have you, those are things only. So obviously something is going on. And hang on, I need to shut this door. Sorry, guys. Typical fashion. So obviously something is going on, my Amazon return, inside of us that's causing us, and this is a result of what's going on inside. Have I figured out exactly what that is for me? No, I haven't. I am very aware of the incidents that happened through the last year or two that led me to the place where I'm at, sort of, because I've always had a lot of things come at me throughout my life that were extremely intense that I have rose above and overcome. And then more came at me. And yes, maybe it was more intense than what I had been through, but you would have liked to have thought that I would have continued in my fight, right? Rising above it. I did not and was not able to do that. Slowly drifted away from doing the things that I loved a little at a time, too. Just a little at a time. I'm sure you can relate where you just, oh, you're not in the mood or you don't feel like it or you put it off or you've said so many requests, so many prayers, done so many rituals to no avail. Your situation's not changing. So it kind of makes you feel hopeless, defeated, and then one thing leads to another, and you at some point stop and look around and say, hey, my God, I'm not doing any of those things anymore. And ironically, when that happens, that's when we need that part of ourselves more than ever. So what can we do about it? I don't think there's one quick fix, like you're going to do this, that, and then four other things, and you're going to be back to where you were at all. And the other thing, quick, this should be a whole nother video, but I need to throw this in there because it's so important for us to understand that when we go through trauma, a lot of trauma, it affects our creative mind. It affects our imagination. When we're in trauma, we're imagining what might happen. And I so encourage you to just kind of study a little more on this to help yourself understand what happens. So our imagination file becomes corrupted via this trauma. Our magic, our craft, our hope, our little girl inside of us is all about our imagination. So once our imagination, like that little girl who feels crushed by life, we're just standing there like, I don't want to do anything anymore. It's going to hurt too much. It's going to be too hard. It's going to be a waste of my time. I already did all that. And it took me so hard, so much, so long to muster up the strength to do it in the first place. I don't think I have it in me. So, with that being said, there are side or back doors that we can use and take to get back what we were doing and that desire to do what we were doing. Now, for me personally, and I'm just sharing my story, so this isn't going to be every case. For me personally, it's really little steps that definitely aren't, oh my gosh, I can't believe what I used to be able to do. So many videos, so much encouraging of people. It was nothing for me to do 50 mystery boxes and 20 rituals in 1 week. Literally, I don't know who that person was or what happened to her, but here she is in this state here. And that's the other thing, we need to accept ourselves where we're at, right? Um, am I able to do what I was doing? Do I have the desire to do it? No. Maybe I shouldn't have been doing it anyway. I don't know. There's a lot of variables there, but accepting where we're at, accepting that we're thinking about wanting to get back into some of the stuff we used to do, or maybe do something entirely different. The fact that we're sitting here saying, hey, I went through a lot and I'm not quite who I was a year or two ago, but that's okay because I have my whole future in front of me, and I'm going to start somewhere and see where it leads and what it ends up looking like. And I'm not going to tie myself to, don't tie yourself to, let's say for me, I would not say, Jody, okay, your mental health recovery looks like you have to get here. Remember in 2020 when you did this, that, and the other thing? This is the ceiling. This is where you need to go. No, get rid of that. Get rid of that. What I many times often remember the day that I was sitting in one of my rooms over here, our book school room, and literally had that breakdown. Like, I remember the feeling in my mind and the fading, and reading was difficult, seeing was, typing on my phone was almost impossible. And how far I've come from that spot, and how cautious I am and protective to make sure I don't start going in that direction. So there's a lot of self-protection that we're going to have to do. So that was a lot about my story, but some actual things that I feel like are important that we can do. And if you're not feeling it when you're doing these little things, that's okay. You have to look at it like, here's a good analogy. Okay, I like analogies because it helps break things down. Let's say we're going to make something very complicated, a very fancy recipe. Let's just use a stir fry, even though it's not fancy. Let's use a beautiful, healthy stir fry with various exotic vegetables and sauces and seasonings. In order for you to have that end product, you have to start by cutting the celery, right? You would probably want to chop some onions. You would probably want to dice some herbs, right? So cutting the celery in itself isn't really too exotic or exciting, and some people don't even like celery. But cutting the celery is a necessary part to get the end result and the recipe. So healing is challenging for multiple reasons. I think for me, that's, as an overachiever, perfectionist, that is one of the most difficult things about healing, is you're stuck chopping that celery sometimes a lot. And maybe later I get to the carrots and I'm able to dice some carrots. And it seems like it took me a hell of a frickin' long time to get some celery and carrots ready. And that's all I have. I'm not even ready to make the stir fry yet. But, a year ago, no way I couldn't cut the celery. I couldn't chop anything. And that's a metaphor. That's not actual. I continued to cook, but a good analogy how that looks in a brain when you've kind of been put to a stop, shut down, traumatized. What the hell? And now you're trying to move back up a little. So I am still stuck on the selenite. Many times, I don't care if you have a little piece, medium piece, a selenite knife, whatever you have, selenite, very high vibration crystal, very porous. We know not to put our selenite in water, very cleansing, very protective, very healing. And I really encourage you to continue to go and cut your cords, cleanse your aura, can cleanse your chakras, all the things, your whole body, do it all. Put it where you're going to see it, for one thing. Put it where you watch TV. I don't care if you're not really even thinking about it and you're just like, hell, I'll freaking do this thing to get it over with. When you start forcing yourself to do those little things like that, even though you're not feeling it, it might feel stupid, it might feel hypocritical, it is a start. You at least at this point went to the fridge and got the celery out. It's in your hand. Okay, that's how this has to start. That basic. So get the selenite, use the selenite. I want to show you this oracle deck. Now, don't feel like you have to go buy an oracle deck. I'm just giving suggestions. If you have oracle decks, get one that you have, okay? If you are looking for a new oracle deck, this is a really super great one on self-love right here. And so many of us have oracle decks, too many maybe oracle decks, and they just sit there. So what I did, I want to say November, I decided to take my oracle decks and sit them out in places where I knew I would use them. And I forced myself, I set them out in 3 different places because I had set them out before and I was not using them. So this time I set out 3 decks in different places and I committed to doing one deck at least. This one I had by the bathtub and I set it there like this on the little table by the bathtub. And before I would take a bath, I take a bath every night. I'm going to take a card. I just started with the top. I didn't shuffle. I initially shuffled. I cleared my deck, all that. When I was done with one card, I took it and put it on the bottom and faced it the opposite way so I would know when I completed the deck. I made myself do this every night except for on December 23rd when I decided I wouldn't do it. And then I didn't do it again for a week or more. And now that's the other thing I have realized. When you have struggled and you've stopped doing some of your practices and you get back in the habit, don't stop again because it's really hard to come back to it. I'm not sure on that why of that yet, but really try to stay committed. I'm just going to read this one. This is the surrender card. Yep. Yeah, admitting that not in comparison with others. No one's equal, matchless, peerless. And that is such a great card, you guys, not just for in comparison with others. This is so spot on. In comparison, with who we used to be, right? Because we're going to sit here and compare, or who we wanted to be and compare. And even with me saying, I look at how, that time I had that breakdown and how far I came. Well, it'd be easy too to use that as in a negative, to be like, well, at least I'm doing better than I was when I had that breakdown. So while it can be helpful, it also can be not that much of a great thing. So the comparison. So every day, I think just thinking about where we're at mentally. Are we aware of ourselves? Are we checked in? Are we mindful? Do we have some sort of a plan for the day that includes thoughts that are loving to ourselves and healing to ourselves? And is our self-talk hopeful and positive if we're in a place where we're wallowing and rehashing some of our trauma we've went through, which we're going to have to do? how are we handling that? Are we handling it in a way that's destructive, or are we handling in a way that's healthy to process it? Or have we processed it enough and we're over dwelling on the situation? These are all things that if you're a person that lives in their head, which I am, I'm at 15 minutes already, which I am, I need to really assess and get control of my thoughts, because it can be like a runaway train. So back to doing this every night, day, whenever you do it. Now I have another deck of cards that I have set up by a candle, a ritual, um, that I keep going, and I've been using those as well now. And then I also have a third deck I've been using. So what started out as just this moved into other areas. And another thing that's so important to do to heal is be creative, even if you don't feel like it. This is one of the back doors to healing your brain and your trauma, that creativeness, that imagination in you that has been damaged can begin to heal through those different ways. So for me, I started out with the little junk journals, and it seemed so silly and fruitless, and I wasn't creating anything to generate any income to benefit anyone really other than myself, which felt weird for me. It still does. It feels naughty. It feels wrong. And I sit down and I force myself to do it. And I will say that it's helping so much. So, whatever your creativity is it putting together a puzzle? Is it adult coloring? Is it doodling? Is it painting? Is it decorating? Is it fixing your hair? Is it doing your makeup? Is it cooking something nice? Is it painting? Is it journaling? Is it writing? What is it? Is it planting flowers? It's something. There's got to be something we're doing that's creative. And the more, the better. It doesn't have to cost a ton of money, but we have to become active in our own lives and not just spectators, because we will not heal if we continue to spectate. We will just continue to watch and watch things and not participate, and we'll lose weeks and months and years, and then it'll be 5 years from now and we'll still be wondering how we're going to get back from this trauma. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I don't know for myself when more trauma is coming. I'm sure it's coming. I lost my mom in August, and my husband, he's still alive. That doesn't mean he will be forever. What's coming next? And I'm kind of asphyxiated with death after what happened with my mom. So I'm kind of in this place like, well, I better really try to get myself back on track, because I don't know what might come next, and I need to be fit and ready and strong for that to come. So important. And I wish anyone watching this all the love in the world, and all the empathy, and all the healing, and all the patience to take the time to heal yourself and get yourself back. And I don't mean get back exactly to where you were, because you will never be exactly the way you were. You've been through too much. You've seen too much. You've experienced too much. You've hurt too much. You've been afraid too much. You can't go back to who you were. And that in itself is such an intense grieving process. So I encourage you to ugly cry and grieve the loss of who you were. And will you ever be okay with that? I don't know, but time does heal things. So I figure as I recover and heal, and more time goes on that I've donated to healing, I'll be less traumatized by the shift that happened to me, because I'll be more comfortable in my skin, with who I am or who I am becoming. Don't give up. Don't lose hope, because I know for sure everybody watching this, there's somebody that needs you in their life, somebody that's depending on you, somebody that is worried about you and wants you to heal. And we want to be there for those people. We do, even though it feels like it's overwhelming right now. And it's okay to think about ourselves right now, but it's not just us. There's others that we, as we heal, they will learn to heal, and they will see us healing and fighting, and they'll be encouraged to do the same thing. So that wasn't a ton of um, tips. There was basically the two, the selenite and the oracle cards, no, and the creativity. And these can be kind of creative, but I'm talking more about you creating something. And doodling is creative. It doesn't have to look good for it to be creative. Please keep that in mind. So yeah, I love you guys so much, and you can do this, okay? I promise. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.